concern was to control material in transit. And it sounds like that's receiving coming from your suppliers. So this is a raw material of steel coming in, or are you trying to control transit of material moves of your product going out to outside processors or things like that? Where is the control of material going into transit a big issue for you?
Now, the issue at the end of the day, the issue is the cash, is the working capital. My concern is material is hitting the gates, and we are not prepared. So we are pushing the plan to not purchase more than we are consuming. But every day we're receiving material that we didn't order, or we're receiving more than we order. And when I say control trust, it means that when the supply send me ASN, I'll be able to, hey, something's going on. They are sending more than I asked. Then I'm gonna try to stop them before they hit my gate. That, do you understand?
I do. Okay. So they are sending an ASN of telling you what's coming.
Yeah.
It's just that you're not expecting that amount. So somehow it's that is either getting ordered or they're just automatically sending it to you.
Yes, actually, because I'm implementing IDI for suppliers, all right, to get the ASN. But let's suppose that in a first moment when if you move forward, in a first moment you would be prepared to manually feed the system with that information. You mean, so I have people doing the follow up with the material, calling to the supplier, and the system must enable us to do through the integration with the SCN or do a manual follow up. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do. Okay. So that helps me to show you sort of the first part here.
Mhm.
We have a couple of solutions in there. One, if all of the sort of scheduling and ordering of product coming in, I don't know if that's handled by your plant or if that is done by an outside like 3PL that is doing all the logistics management. But either way, we do have a planning solution where you can actually go in and plan for the day of what I'm planning to have come in. And I can even build master schedules so that if I receive a lot of the same things on Monday, I can build up a master schedule so that I could actually go in here and say, you know what, I want to just load a daily schedule of, I don't know which of these has, this is my test data. I'm going to see which one has some data in it. So for Thursday, here is my anticipated trucks for the day so that we can plan that. So if you're integrating in with a 3PL or 4PL that's doing that scheduling for you, we can communicate with most 3PLs and 4PLs and bring that data in for it so that we at least have an idea of what trucks are going to be showing up and what's coming. Now, if we
Mhm.
just want to look at the ASN side of that, um, with the ERPs that we work with, we are able, actually, we have a service that runs on a Blackhawk server that we would designate, whether that's a virtual server or however you want to set that server up at your plant, which then communicates with your ERP so that as any ASNs are out there and available, it would be able to go ahead and grab those ASNs, pull those into Blackhawk so that we have complete visibility of that. So if you look on here, if I click on this add new BOL button, it defaults to my ASN tab. So for this particular vendor that I have selected on here, and I only have one vendor set up in my test data. So for this vendor, you can see that I have an ASN that is sitting out there waiting for me to be brought in. So we can see on that ASN, here is all the material that was on that particular ASN. So we have the visibility there. We also could do a report on this, for any given vendor, just to show me what are all the ASNs and what is all the product that is expected to be showing up at my doors on those particular ASNs. And you could run that by day, you could run that by shift, you could run that by week,
Yeah.
however you want. I mean, I don't know how far away your vendors are. I assume they're pretty local. So you're, probably getting an ASN just a couple of hours before your material shows up.
Exactly.
But yeah, but or we could, create some sort of a test that anytime a new ASN shows up, it just sends out an email blast to tell you, hey, here is the new ASN that's showing up, here is what is on it, so that, if that truck has not left and they are sending more material than you can handle at that point, then you could contact them and work out that with them. But usually an ASN shows up after the truck has left and is en route. So we would have to kind of talk through some solutions for that on how we could do that.
I'm going to interrupt a second, Kaz. This is where when I talk about Blackhawk writing a service, it would automatically measure the cum received against the cum ordered, or the cum to be received once we add the ASN amount. And then either, we could text the purchaser's phone or email the purchaser or whomever and have them interact with the supplier fairly quickly after the ASN is done.
Now, a question I do have is, all this raw material that you're getting from vendors, are you purchasing this, or is this consigned that like Stellantis is purchasing it and then just sending it over to you?
Yeah, no, we have both, okay? We have the material that you buy directly, and the second case is not a consignment, it's a kind of, we call resale, okay? But even then, even for the resales, the supplier follow our plan. Do you understand?
They do.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's good, because a lot of times we run into this issue that you're having with a lot of the consigned stuff, because Ford, it just continues to order and send raw material, even though the plant, like now we're in in a strike situation, the plant might not be working, but Ford continues to send more and more raw material. And so that's something that we as a solutions provider would have to work with you on coming up with how to resolve that. So once an ASN, so if I were to take an ASN and bring it into our system, like for instance, here you can see for this bill of lading 11112222 from this particular vendor. So I pulled it into our system, and so it automatically, let me see if I can get one that's well, let me just start a new one so that we can see what this one would look like. So I'm just going to okay. So we can see, once I have pulled that particular ASN now into Blackhawk, it shows us what are all the requirements that are coming from that particular vendor. We can see for this part, there's a quantity of 400 expected, but we've received 0 of it so far. And then for this part, there's a quantity of 100, 0 has been scanned and received. But for this particular part, we can see that the vendor has sent the serial number on the ASN also. Now, I don't know if that's something your vendors ever do, but we do support that. Most don't put serial numbers on an ASN, but if they do, we support that, so that we can then verify, for this particular part, this is the exact serial number that came in, and do that. And if it isn't, or say they sent 2 of these in, so now we have a quantity of 200, even though they only had shown on the ASN that 100 was there, we'll show you how we handle all that, those discrepancy issues also.
But
okay.
When I see here 0 of 400, okay, it means that the system is comparing the ASN against the relays. Is that correct?
Okay, so what it is showing you is that on the ASN there is 400, quantity 400 is being sent to you.
Oh.
Zero of that has been scanned in to the plant yet. Because remember, our software is very scan centric. So we do everything by scanning. So once, this receipt, if this was 4 different containers or 4 different coils of something, I could go ahead and say, I want to add a receipt. Let me just move this over. We prefer to do all of our scanning off of a 2D barcode. I don't know if any of your suppliers or vendors are using 2D barcodes, because we can do one scan and pull the part number, serial number, quantity, all that right off. But for our demo purpose, I'm just going to do this sort of in a manual way here. So G1489. Oops.
While Kaz is doing that, Charles, I want you to know, when we're talking about scanning and labeling, once you decide to work with us, we provide you all kinds of support in label design and what you require from your supplier. So we're not arbitrarily saying, you're on your own here. We do this all together, including even offering you the wording on your purchase order if you want to get your suppliers to behave.
Understand.
So I just jumped to a different bill of lading just because I had that one more set up for our demo here with my test data. So we can see for this particular part number that's being received, there's a quantity of 100. So we're expecting 200, but we're going to receive a quantity of 100. So let me just go ahead and save that. And so it tells me, for this part quantity 100 of 200, and there's 2 total things that have been scanned to this. So if I come back to our main screen here, we can see, okay, we got 100 of it scanned, but there's still 100 outstanding that we would need to scan and receive that other item also. So I'll just go ahead and scan that final item. So again, this is normally scanning right off of the barcodes on your labels. So for my demo purpose here, I'm just sort of selecting the items that we need here. So, okay, and I do not want to print. So since I'm generating a serial number automatically here for this, the system says, okay, well, then we don't know what that serial number is, so we need to print a label. So we have the ability to go ahead and print a new label to go right on that. But we would assume all of your product would be coming in with correct labels. But if the label ever is damaged, you always can check that print container labels button, and then you can give a reason why, say, it was unable to be scanned or is damaged or whatever. We can configure anything you want here. But I'm just go ahead and I'm just manually typing these in. So now we can see we've received 200 of 200 and this line item went green for us. Yep. Now a condition where your ASN is telling you you're going to be receiving 100 items, but maybe they put more on that truck. So stuff is showing up that you were not expecting. I can go ahead and I can say, let's go ahead and add a receipt for that 1526170 part. And I'm just going to generate serial number, and we'll say that a container of 100 of that showed up. I'll save that, and you can see this sort of went in orange right here now, showing, hey, we've got more than we need. And if I come back to our main screen, now that is also marked as orange because it's showing us we're out of spec on what was on the ASN based on what was scanned. When we go ahead to do, so this is all within just Blackhawk right now. Once I click that upload bill of lading button down in the corner here, it's sort of upload BOL, that's when it's going to take this receipt data, summarize it, and send it back to your ERP. But we can automatically have our system generate an RDR, a receiving discrepancy report, that says, hey, we received more than we were expected to. I want to, for that particular vendor, I want to create that RDR. So, and I'll just show you what that would look like. So it would do this automatically for you, or you could always come in and manually create an RDR. So we could just say, for this particular part number, it's overshipped per BOL by 100 parts. You can do a comment on that. If there was, if you had damaged parts and you had labor hours that were correct to correct that, we can capture that here. And we actually can use the include in RDR or debit supplier to build a supplier rating for you so that you can go back to your suppliers and be like, hey, over the past month, you've overshipped us on, 5 of your trucks that were coming in. And so that's causing issues for us. And we need to either resolve that, or we as your, customer need to start going back to you and saying, how can we make this right? Or do we need to ding you and create a, a sort of a grade for that particular vendor? So describe. And if you have items that are coming in that are damaged, and you're doing this on a tablet, tablets have a camera right on it. So we can actually tie right into the camera that's on the tablets, take pictures of any damaged product. If you have steel that's coming in and it's all rusted or it's been dropped and so it's dented, I don't know what issues you would have, but you can take photos of that would then show up on our discrepancy report that you could then email off to your vendors. So I can just add that particular RDR that was overshipped. And so then that is saved. So like I said, we have scripting in the background of the program so that if I'm uploading that bill of lading, it would automatically create that receiving discrepancy for me and then take that discrepancy report, and it can be emailed out on a distribution list if you want, or it can just be sort of sitting on our software so that you can look at it and view it there, however works best for you.
Okay.
So that's really controlling. So of the items you had sent to us, receiving multiple or in excess of stuff that's not released. So that's how our software really handles that type of issue. Are there any questions you have before I move on?
No, let's move on. For the receivings, I think this is a good overview. This is good.
Yep.
Okay,
And this is a very small little piece of receiving. Receiving still does a whole ton more. I'm just sort of targeting our demo down into what you see, because we can do truck management of, as truck drivers arrive, they have a place that they can go to, they can scan in, and it will automatically tell them which bays to go to. And it will notify a receiving person that, hey, this truck is at the dock, it's ready to be unloaded. And then we track how long it takes to unload that dock. I track how many, we have crew members on here. How many crew does it take to unload a particular trailer? And then take all that and get it put away. So there's lots of tracking going on in the background for receiving also, just so that you're aware of all of that.
There's two things I wanted to add to this, Charles. You receive steel. Is this coil or blanks?
And the I would say that 90% is coils. Okay, just a few receiving.
There's a in this business over the last 5 years, maybe longer, we have noticed an increase in inaccuracy of the coil weight. And so the weight on the paperwork is usually overstated. And with the cost of steel these days, even if you have a few pounds of shortage on your coil, and you're doing any volume at all, this adds up to a fair amount of money, and could be, I'm not saying is, but it could be a reason of your shrink. So we would encourage you, even if it's on the side, to do a scale, do some verification of the coil weight on a hanging scale, just to see if you have suppliers that are misbehaving. And I'm not saying they do it on purpose. What I'm saying is, if you don't push back once in a while, they get lazy.
No, definitely. No, I'm completely in agreement with you, but this is part of our procedure today, and somehow using that solution, we need to be able to to protect the process, because today, although they are obligated to weigh the coils, I'm not sure if they are following the process. In one audit that I did 2 months ago, I saw that the scale was not working. So
what we could do, and we have done in the past, is in our receiving mechanism, you actually scale the coil as you receive it. And so there's a verification of weight, which can be used later for an efficiency mechanism, because if you end up using our production client, we know how many pieces are made from that coil, and you can then do some efficiency measuring to make sure that your bill of materials are correct.
Yep, yeah, we've done 2 overlays in receiving. One is to receive stuff and then have it scaled, and the other one was just creating an algorithm of having the user who's receiving it verify the thickness of the sheet, and then how much total is there on the coil, and measuring that, and then letting us do the calculations to make sure we calculate what it should be, and then verify it to the ASN. And that usually gets you close to it. So we obviously have a variance in there that we allow for, but yeah, we've helped steel plants to do that.
Okay.
To be tracking material that is in transit, we have a couple of different methods to do that. The simplest is just using a scan to move application, in which we are taking product and scanning it from one location to another. And with some customers, whenever they have material going into transit, say they're moving it from one building to another, and those buildings might be a few miles away, they will take it using scan to move, scan it from its current location. It might be Maine at plant 1, move it to a transit location using scan to move, and then once it's received on the other side, scanning it from that transit location to where it's going to be now, whether it's a warehouse or whether you're consuming it, however. So we can track your transit very simply there using that. Now,
Okay.
we've done much more complex things with that. Like we can use our Blackhawk shipping client, which I'm not going to get too deep into that. But
Well,
Blackhawk shipping, go ahead, Bob. You want to jump in?
We are at the 30-minute mark, Charles. Do you wish for us to continue, or have we got enough interest in this meeting to have another meeting?
No, if you guys have more time, for me, it's okay. You can move on. I'm
Okay.
willing
Okay. Yep, I'm good. I don't have anything scheduled right after this, so good.
It's up to you, Bob.
Okay. So the Blackhawk shipping client, is really designed for taking your finished goods and shipping them out to your customers, either by either using a shipping schedule or by release, or if they're sending 862s or whatever their demand is. But we also allow for transfer shipping of product between your facilities. And so transfer shipping would allow me to allocate a shipment bay and say what destination is it going to. We recommend we're just going to put it to a transit because we want to see what is in transit at every given moment. So if I say I'm just going to scan stuff from its current location to transit, okay, and then I can just go ahead and start scanning product into that particular truck. And then once I take that and I ship the load, that's going to then inform your ERP that stuff has moved. This part number and quantities have moved from this current location to this new transit location. And we have all sorts of reports of serial number locator, which is sort of the history of any given serial number so that you can see what is the movement history of that.
Okay.
See if I can just pull this up real quick.
This would be most often used when you're moving product, when you're moving anything from one facility to another facility. And we do offer the reports needed if you were to move it from the US to Mexico or US to Canada, though those are custom reports because your customs paperwork is unique.
I like to see that because we have this situation as well. We have sister companies here, one in Kansas, another one in London, and we are providing parts to them, and control the material between them is complicated. So I like that. Let me comment another thing here, Cass.
Sure.
Okay, we got a problem between system companies, okay, sister companies. And see the trans it's a good feature. And this report, this subject that you brought, pop up another problem in my mind that we are facing here. Backlog, customer backlog. How is there anything in the solution that gave us a visual management of that? And of course, if you can demonstrate now, I don't know.
Let me talk to that. Cass, what he's talking about is when we'll say product is undershipped according to the 862, the daily or the hourly or the weekly, and so the backlog is literally what we would call the undershipped amount, which occurs both on the EDI document, but we actually display that in the JIT production schedule, which we're not set up to demo today. But that piece it's within the shipping piece, and I don't know if you can show him the daily.
Bob, if you guys are not prepared, no problem. Okay, you can set another. I think I'm quite sure that you're gonna have other meetings, but let me explain the problem that you have here. It is very, very painful here. So we are providing parts to the OEMs, but also providing parts to Sodecia companies, sister companies, right? Like I said. And due to a lack of control, we have a logistic protocol to try to coordinate, to orchestrate the logistic process between them. But sometimes it is very often we are having problems with that. What kind of problem? Like I said, Detroit is short shipping partners to London, short ship partners to Kansas. As a consequence, we are stopping the line in our companies and putting customer in risk. But we are losing resources because people are there, machine are there, but there's no material. And again, I can prove everything that I
Yeah.
say to you guys. I can prove today at noon. I was in a meeting for 1 hour and a half, trying to understand why Detroit is stopping one line in Kansas. So
Yeah.
that's part of the
Yep.
problem that we face. Very, very
Yep.
regular.
A big thing I would like to show you, which I'm not set up to show you right now today, but we have sort of this whole JIT scheduler that allows you to be, scheduling out your production based on what your customer requirements are. And it, keeps sort of an hourly bucket of here's what we have to have produced because this is going to be shipping, this is going to be going out. And once you sort of have production keeping up with what the demand is, and we know we can be getting that product onto the truck and getting out to those sister plants, because I assume those sister plants are not really ordering product via EDI where they're sending it
Yeah,
A6, or
yeah,
they are ordering
yeah,
it via EDI. Okay, that's even better because then we can control both the production side and the shipping side on that
yeah.
to make sure that we're meeting all that demand. And once we're not meeting that demand, we have all sorts of configuration within our shipping client and even in the JIT scheduling client to start blasting out emails to say, hey, we're behind on this. We're not going to be able to meet this requirement, which may still be 8 hours in the future. But since we sort of know what the schedule requirement is, we know what shipping is going to be requiring, we can sort of backfill that into production to make sure that production is keeping up right where they need to be or is able to be building ahead. Obviously, in a real world, lots of things happen on a line that shut lines down or make it so that we can't build product. The components aren't there or machines break. But JIT schedule we have really allows you to have full visibility of everything that of the customer requirements right down at the line level, whether you're putting up on andon boards so that they can be seen where we are. Are we in the green? Are we the yellow? Are we in the red? For every hourly bucket, to know what do we need to do to make this next shipment or to make our next 5 shipments.
Understand.
So yeah, Bob, did you want to go any more on that?
No, when we have to, I think what we're going to do is we're taking notes. Tina and I are taking notes of what Charles would like to see. And I suspect Charles is going to invite other people into these meetings. So some of the problems can be discussed within their level of expertise. The real answer, Charles, is it is bad. Bad is not a strong enough term. They shut down the line because of lack of inventory. Now, that would be, in my opinion, that would be a very key to fix right away. But since there's so many building blocks to fixing that right away, we sort of have to plan out what is needed on the short vision, and then the medium-term vision, and then the long vision of how to fix it. I'm gonna suggest that we actually spend this time just on inventory and how we can improve inventory accuracy. I think the next thing we should do is have a meeting just on the JIT scheduler, so Charles and his team can understand the building blocks of how it works, with the understanding that the JIT scheduler requires tremendous accuracy in your inventory, or it's going to believe that we have the system will believe we have the inventory, but physically we don't. So the first building block to get the JIT scheduler to work is inventory accuracy. So we need to talk about receiving and then scan to move.
Okay.
You have an understanding of receiving. Receiving is from 10,000 feet, it's the ability to scan containers coming into the plant. And we have tablet-based utilities that you fix the forklift with a tablet and a 2D barcode scanner, and they take material off the forklift or the bed truck. I mean, you take material off the trailer or the flatbed and scan it into the warehouse, scan it into the receiving dock. And once that's done, then the scan to move or the warehouse function occurs naturally, where you pick material up off the receiving dock and you move it into the warehouse or onto the production floor or wherever you're storing it. I'm going to have to ask the simple question. You don't store any steel outside? Question mark. Do you store steel outside?
No, actually not.
Okay. Do you use a lot of trailers?
When you say trailers,
Trailers to store inventory.
oh no, actually not. Actually,
Okay. Those are
Actually, I'd say
those are two great answers. Yeah, those are two great answers, because once you start storing inventory in trailers, it's much more hard to correctly manage that. So, we're going to. I'm going to ask for another meeting, and I'm going to give you some bullet points of what we're going to discuss. I'll send you an email of what we've discussed today, but I'll send it tomorrow. And Kaz can continue to do the demo of the standard tools that we use to manage your inventory and therefore your inventory accuracy. Now, there's going to be a moment of time when we comfortably say that everything in your warehouse is labeled with a 2D barcode. That doesn't happen immediately, and it may never happen, but that is the building block for excellent inventory accuracy. Yes. So when Kaz continues to talk about our tools, realize that there is a label either on the container or wired to the coil of steel, or at that level, we need everything to be identified with a unique serial number or a license plate. That's the building block. So I'm going to say, Kaz, work on the rest of the tools. We'll probably end up doing another receiving demo when you have more of your material management people in a meeting, because their comments are very important. So, Kaz, please continue. You have, we'll say, 20 more minutes.
Okay. I will also say, I'm local in the Detroit area. So if you would like to do this meeting at a plant too, so that we can sort of walk around and sort of see some of the heartaches that you have, I'd be happy to come on site with you also, just to kind of discuss that.
That's what I just saw in your page. You guys are in Sterling Heights, right?
We're based out of Sterling Heights.
Yes. We're a virtual company, so our people are I'd say everywhere, but Kaz is local and I am local to you.
Okay, no, great, because you're very close. Definitely gonna need to have more conversation, like you said, Bob, with people from the process as well. Let's continue, Kaz, and then you can set the next steps.
Sure. So really, once we have the material received, our next thing to do is just be warehousing that, putting that away in a manner so that we know where everything is at every given moment. And so what I've done is I've just scanned a particular serial number here that was received in, and we can see it was just a container of this, and its current location is sitting at bank. Now, most of your material would be coming in and sitting at a receiving location. We can define your warehouse very tightly or very loosely, depending on what your needs are. We go into some plants and they're like, no, we have all this shelving space, and we want each little individual piece of that shelving to be dedicated to certain part numbers so that we know where everything is. And when you define it that tightly, we can actually use a lot of automation within our software to tell your receivers exactly where stuff should go. So you're receiving a particular part number or a coil of something, and we can have the system start automatically suggesting, okay, for that particular part, it should go into this location. So I have, full locations hidden, but we define a location as a primary for a part, an overflow. So once primary is full, we can go into that overflow, or then we can have other non-assigned locations. We can have your line locations, everything there, so that we can track that serial number moving from receiving to your warehouse. From your warehouse, if you move stuff on fork trucks, I don't know how big these coils are, if they're moved on trucks or if you just use overhead cranes, but we can track when something is scanned to a fork truck or scanned to a crane, and then being moved around the plant, and then finally deposited at the line so that it can be consumed at that line. And then once you do a run on that coil, say that coil's not done, then we want to relabel that coil with an accurate level of inventory that's still on it, get that relabeled, and then tell that person where to put that back into inventory. Because once we have that well defined, if you have turnover in your plant, it's very easy for a new person to come in and know where everything is, because the system is what is actually driving them to say, go get this coil from this location, based on FIFO move rules, based on whatever rules you decide are important to your plant.
Okay.
So I like to compare it a lot to like an Amazon warehouse type thing, where you have lots of people and the system, the computers are just telling them what to do, because there's so much intelligence in built into the system of knowing where your inventory is, what inventory needs to be consumed, that it does that for you. And there's other programs that we have other than Scan to Move. Scan to Move is a very basic, taking something and moving it from location A to location B. But we have that same idea of material move built into a replenishment thing. So at your line can say, hey, I need this particular part. It puts a request out to your material handlers to say, this part needs to be moved here, and then it tracks that part as it's getting to the line so that that person knows when it's going to be arriving at the line. And so we can be doing things like that. So
I'm gonna interrupt here for a second. Charles, the issue that you're having with your is a Tennessee plant that has line stoppage because you don't have materials. Because it's Blackhawk is one system that will be could be covering many different facilities. We literally can monitor. We could treat is it Tennessee that's having the problem? We could treat your Tennessee plant almost like a supermarket. Oh, I'm sorry. We would treat your local plant as a supermarket feeding your Tennessee plant. And when it got below a certain level, it would start to scream and shout that you're about to cause a Tennessee plant to shut down. So all of these things, imagine this is a very modern database. We can protect some of the misbehavior that's occurring just by monitoring inventory levels. So, and you may say something like, well, I want 100. Well, my trailer holds 1,000, and I never want the physical location of your Tennessee plant to be less than 1,000. So whenever it gets close, send out an email that someone needs to figure out what's happening here 2 days before it's going to occur. And so all of that looking into the future, well, it's systematic. So you won't be able to, unless you're just going to ignore these alerts, you'll always have a heads up of your difficulty. days, if not weeks, depending on your ordering cycle. Okay, I'll shut up.
Okay, good to know.
A lot of what we do is controlled by sending out those alert emails, but behind the scenes, we always have reports say you can be going and viewing what is happening at any given location within the plant, whether at receiving, at your warehousing and all that. I just pulled up a location locator report, and so you can go ahead and look at any given location. Like the one I started looking at here was transit. That I just wanted to see, because as we had talked about, you said you have issue of material, moving from one plant to another, so that to see what is in transit, if you scan stuff to a location named transit, we can see what all is in transit at that point. And if you use the shipping client, it actually would be listed all together under a same shipment. And then we can see right when that was then received at the plant and brought in, we can see the receipt. So we know that the timestamps on all the major occurrences of those particular serial numbers, where stuff is occurring and who's handled it and who's been dealing with it. So all of our reports, I'll say a lot of our reports are very web-based like this, so that you can just go in and view them from anywhere, whether you're on a phone, whether you're on a computer, if you have VPN access to get into your plant, that you can see them from outside the plant. And they're very friendly and very easily customizable. And because they're all web reports, I started in my location locator to see everything that's going on at that particular location. But then I actually could dive in and see, okay, for this particular serial number, what all happened to the history of that serial number? What is the move history, and what's going on with it? And so this particular serial number had went through a lot of different moves, but then it got archived out of the system because it dated out. And so after we did an archive, we can show that was no longer needed. So does it sort of give you a flavor of what scan to move is? There's different pieces in here, because I have different plants wanted to use scan to move differently. Some wanted to say, let me scan my item and then let the system tell me where to put it. And so that's what this sort of alternate is, where I scan a serial number, it tells me all the information about it, and then we can suggest where you should be moving that to. And then the person goes and moves that. And once I arrive at that location, I then scan that location barcode, and it automatically does a move of this product there. Other plants wanted to say, no, I'm receiving a whole bunch of stuff, so let me tell you the location I'm going to, and then just start scanning serial number, so that we're moving multiple serial numbers to a same location at a time. And so that's where we started, and that's why it's a standard. We can also track non-serialized product if you ever receive that. Cardboard or gloves or anything that is non-serialized that you don't really want to track individual serial numbers, but you want to know quantity on hand of things. We do allow you to do that also, and we have a put and a get for non-serialized items.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's the bulk of our warehousing piece, is really the receiving and scan to move. There are other pieces in there that may or may not be relevant to you, like a pallet pack, taking small items and putting them together on a pallet and getting a common master serial number for all the child serial numbers on there. I don't know if you do that, but we have that in there. Downstocking would be if I'm receiving in a pallet, but then I need to break those up into the smaller consumable units so that they can be taken to the line. We allow that to be done. And then the other big piece is cycle count in there. So in order to keep our locations correct, we know there are times that people don't do scanning like they're supposed to. There's an emergency, they go to a location and they just grab something. They don't scan it out. So cycle count will allow me to go to any location or a group of locations and just start a count and say, what is at that particular location. So for, here, I was doing a count on location A, and then we can see what is all the expected containers that are at that particular location A. And then I can actually bring up my scanner and start scanning. It's not started, but I'll bring up the scanner, scan everything that is at location A, and let the system do the comparison. So I scanned 4 things, but our system thinks there's 5 things there. So then it's going to figure out what that missing one is, move that to a lost location so that you can then determine, is this been consumed? Is it moved to a different location and someone didn't scan it? Just a way to fix all the little bugaboos that people cause on your plant floor and cause you to lose inventory.
All right.
So, yeah. So that's the 10,000 mile view of everything that we have here. Just to give you that. Now we can, like I said, I'd be happy to come to the plant or do more meetings with you or with a team just to kind of get into more in depth on specific things. Okay, here's our problem. Here's the specific solution that we would propose for that.
Yeah.
There is another attribute of receiving, and that is lot control. So if you have steel with heat numbers coming in, that is automatically recorded properly. So when you start producing product out of that coil or box of material, that lot number or that heat number or whatever additional information is available when you do the reports. So there are a lot of little pieces that we haven't covered that are important, that are much easier to talk about when we have people saying, well, what about this?
What other questions can I answer for you in our remaining 6 minutes here?
Yeah, no, okay. No,
and I know we're at the end of the day, so we're all brain fried.
Yeah. No, first, guys, thank you so much for the presentation. Okay. Definitely, we're gonna need to do one more or 2 rounds, to understand more what the solution can provide us. But I think we are in the right way, okay, the right path, because basically we have some goals. First goals is is the working capital. So we do need to reduce our stocks. We need to make sure that we're not going to receive more material that we need. But in the other hand, we need to still monitor our stocks. We need to make sure that it's not going to stop our sister companies due to lack of components. There's a bunch of, how can I say, pain points that we need to address. And for years and years and years, we didn't touch on these points, right? Now we have this situation. So we are at least 2.5 years from SAP, but we cannot survive until that. We need to find a solution that helps us to improve the material management in our floor. What I propose is 2 things. One thing, but maybe you guys can go to the plant, and then we are in Centerline. Okay, we have one facility in Roseville, another one in Centerline. Maybe you can set a meeting in Centerline. Instead of doing 1 hour, you can shift. You can set a 2 or 3 hours, and then you're gonna be able to go through the process with you. In the meantime, see keep watching the tool. So maybe we can do a kind of a workshop there. So okay, here's our process, here's the pain point that we have, and then you can show the solution. And after that, then you're gonna need to sit with you and start build a scope, right? Process by process. So here's the recipe. That's how we're gonna work. That's what's gonna be the integration. And after that, you guys are gonna be able to prepare how can I say a proposal, right? That's
Correct.
how I see. That's how I see, at least.
I like that approach. We do that approach with Magna a lot. The benefit of face-to-face meetings were stolen away from us during COVID, but that is foundationally how we like to work. So are you the touch point then for these meetings locally? Would we be saying, what's your schedule like next week? We're free on Tuesday and Thursday. What day works for you? How do
Okay.
we introduce ourselves to the plant?
Let me do the following, Bob. I'll check my agenda. Also, I'll try to bring the MPOD manager to this call, right?
Okay.
And then I'll propose 2 or 3 alternative dates to you guys, and then let's try to match one.
That'd be wonderful.
That would be
Okay.
great.
But
And-
I would say that, I'm very, very excited with that because, I like the visual is very, very friendly. And while as I were explaining, I saw there is some, I'm looking at to the menus, the options in the menu, and I like it, what I saw. I think this is the way that we can move forward. Let's first get together and give you guys the opportunity to understand our process and our problems. And after that, you're gonna do one more long meeting to go process by process, and then you're gonna be able to, to move one step forward.
Yeah. Since any inventory automation solution actually touches everyone in the plant, we sort of expect meetings. We hope for more meetings than anything else, because the more meetings we have, the more documentation that is developed on what your needs are.
Okay.
So let's start with one meeting, and then, or it'd be great if we could start with one meeting for each of your facilities.
Okay.
And I say it that way is because everyone needs to own this solution, or it's not going to go anywhere.
Mhm. That's okay. No, I totally agree. Now, Bob and Cass, Tina, thank you so much for the presentation. I'll send you guys the alternative dates in my agenda. I gotta go to another meeting, but it was a great opportunity. Thank you so much.
It was great. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
this time. It's wonderful.
And we'll send you the link to the meeting.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day, guys.